Okay, good day guys. I'm Romel Crespo and I will be your instructor in ICT fundamentals for the rest of the first semester. Okay, what is ICT and what is it's important to us? Also, so ICT or Information and Communication Technology can be simply defined in its simplest form as an electronic medium for creating, storing, manipulating, receiving, and sending information from one place to another. It makes message delivery faster, more convenient, easy to access, understand, and interpret. It uses gadgets such as cell phones, internet, wireless network, computer, radio, television, satellite, base station, and etc. These resources are used to create, store, communicate, transmit, and manage information. It's also a wide field of coverage, extensively deals with communication technology and how it impacts on other fields of human endeavor. It is fastest growing academic field of study and a viable source of livelihood. It is converge of telephone and computer networking through a single cabling system with ease of data storage, manipulation, management, and retrieval. It is concerned with the database management, computer programming, and software development. In other words, ang ICT ginagamit ta nowadays, gina-imply ra sa computer, internet, cellphone, TV, and other technologies. So ginagamit ka mga human beings ra as a tool and kinapahilas na ang ating kabuhi. Ginagamit man ang ICT as a tool in collecting datas and storing datas. Also, ginagamit man ng ICT as magpagimo ka mga application like for example POS point of sale system ang ating website la eskwela mura ginagamit namin na ICT. So let's proceed. So what is the importance of ICT? Creates analytical mind of students that help them study and prefer solutions to problem emanating from all related fields that employs as a learning tool. It helps students to be innovative and develop a new ways of solving problems scientifically. It makes information storage and retrieval easy. It enhances computer networking globally known as today as Internet. It creates gainful employment, hence a viable source of livelihood. It makes comprehension of subjects such as subjects easy. Virtually all fields of learning are amenable to ICT, such as applications of projector for teaching classrooms. It is the basis of e-learning in online library. Hence, information dissemination is easier than ever. It uses various offices for proper documentation and of official activities and administrations. In other words, ang importance kanukang ICT gina-innovate ng kabuhi kataho, ginatawaan ng taho ka mga scientific ways para ma-solve ang mga problema. Ginagamit siya sa mga electronic learning, online library. So ginagamit mo sa mga offices. Also, ang pag-storage kag retrieval ng mga information hulas na lang. So in other words, it makes, or in simplest form, it makes our life better. So Let's proceed. Okay, so Chapter 1, Data and Information. Okay. Okay, so what is data? Well, data can be defined as a representation of facts, concepts, or instructions in a formalized manner, which should be suitable for communication, interpretation, and processing by a human or electronic machine. Data is represented with the help of characters such as alphabets, digits, or special characters. In other words, ang data is a variety of words or information nga gina-process kang human being sa sangkabagay, such as ga-formulate kang chemicals, siyempre ginabala mo ka data. Ah, ano, ang observing ka ano kung mga, let's see, kumpara ka mga, let's just say nga gabuan talaga data sa sangkabagay mo na lang sa. Okay, so ang data kano represents kang alphabets, digits, kag special characters. In other words, anything that makita mo is data. Okay, let's proceed to what is information. Okay, well, information is organized of classified data which has been meaningful values for the receiver. Information is the processed data on which decision and acting are based. It expressed either as a content of message or to direct observation. That which is perceived can be construed as a message in its own right. In that sense, information is always conveyed as the content of a message. In other words, amo diyang output kang data, which is ang data ga tao kang information. Bali, kung ang data is the input, ang output naman is ang information. Okay. Pero, ang difference na among diyan masunod ta sa next topic, which is difference between data and information. Okay. Difference between data and information. Ang data kano raw facts of things. No contextual meaning, just numbers and text. Okay? So, ang data kano dapat accurate. Dapat sakto gid. Tapos ang data kano wala pati meaning. Kay ginabrahan mo pa lang kang meaning. Tapos ang data kano dapat number lang in text. Siyempre, kung words na karon, magtuon ako sa information, which is data with exact meaning. Among diyang output. Process data and organize text amo na. Siyempre, words na mo. In other words, for example, ang nag-type ko sa sa Microsoft Word. Siyempre, data para pag print po kara, information na. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay. What is the process data that must be qualified? Okay, the following are: first, timely. Information should be available when required. Dapat ang impormasyon kano ang available kung kinakailangan. Accuracy. Dapat information should be accurate. In amo to kay like kagambal ko, dapat ang information sakto gid. Kay kung sala ra karon, sala man nagwa kay information. Dapat completeness. Siyempre, kung kulang-kulang ra karon, siyempre magbasa ra karon kang information na karon to, pag sulat na siyempre abi na sa kompleto rin, kulang-kulang gyapon te. magsala-sala ang imo nga information. Okay. Okay, let's proceed to what is data processing. Okay. Well, data processing occurs when data is collected and translated into usable information, usually performed by a data scientist or a team of data scientists. It is important for data processing to be done correctly as not to negatively affect the end of product or data output. Namo to kayo na. Ang data processing nga dya, in between dya ka data kag data information. Amo dya nga, syempre, pagka ano ko ka data, dapat may data processing. Gina-process mo ba kung sakto bala dya ihan, kung sala dya bala, need ta bala dya dungangan, need ta dya buhinan, to amo ko na. Okay. Okay, so how data is processed? Data process starts with the data in its raw form. Dapat raw information, and it converts into more or readable formats, graphs, document, etc. Giving it the form of context necessary to be interpreted by computers and utilized by employees throughout an organization. Like I said, dapat ang data, kung mag-process ka data, dapat ang sa kabagay nga to, ang ginabalaan ko data, wara get the information para mabalaan ka data nga mo na kabagay. Okay, so broadly, ang data processing can separate sa 6 basic steps, which is data collection, data storage or preparation, sorting of data or input, processing of data or processing, data analysis or output or interpretation, data presentation and conclusion, which or storage. Okay, so data collection. In data collection, as already we have discussed, the source of data collection, logically related data is collected from the different source, different format, different types like XML, CSV file, social media images that is structured or unstructured data and so on. Okay, diyan na masalid ang mag-collecta nga information about sa kabagay. Pwede na maging XML format, pwede SMP format, pwede mabuo sa social media, pwede ito mabuo sa pictures, and so on. Okay, so storage or preparation. Collected data now need to be stored in a physical form like papers, notebook, and all in other physical form. Now, because of data mining and big data, the collection of data is a very huge, even in structured and unstructured form. The data is to be stored in a digital form to perform a meaningful analysis and presentation according to the application requirement. Okay, sa dyan part, actually not necessarily mga gamit ng mga paper or notebook, pero dapat dyan ka sa part na store mo ng data. After mo collecting ka data, dapat store mo ang data. Siyempre, kung hindi mo pag-store ko na malipatan mo. Kag dyan ka rin masalid ang basis ng data ta, which is next is sorting of data. After the storage steps, immediate steps will be sorting and filtering. The sorting and filtering are required to arrange the data in some meaningful order and filter out only the required information which help in easy understand visually and analyze. Okay, sa dyan part, actually ang 4 kag 3 dya same lang dya tanda eh. Diyara masilid ng ang verification, ang correction, ang adding ka mga information, deleting of information, and so on. Okay. Process of data, a series of processing continues are used in present perform onto a verify, transform, organize, integrate or extract data in a useful output or further use. Same na tanda-tanda ka sa sorting of data. Okay, so next is data analysis. Well, data analysis is the process of systematically applying or evaluating data using analytical and logical reasoning to illustrate each component of each data provided and to get a concluded result or decision. In other words, gina-analyze ang mga process nga data kung may sala bala, kung may sakto, or needs bala i-evaluate, or dapat may siyempre just part ka dyan gamitan niya ka logic kay siyempre para maging accurate ang information nga output na. Okay, speaking of output, data presentation and conclusion. Once we come up to analyze the analysis result, it can be represented into a different form like chart, text file, Excel, graph, and so on. Sa diyang part, among diyang output, pwede ka na maging chart, textile file, Excel file, graph, image, video file, and so on. Okay, so different types of output. Amon dyan, magkuha ang sa step 6, which is different types of output. Pwede ta na maging plain text. Okay, plain text, these are exported as a notepad or wordpad files. These are the simplest form of data file. Amon dyan makita nyo sa Microsoft Word, sa notepad nyo, ang WPS nyo, mura. Okay, so next is table and spreadsheet. In this file format, the data represents in a row and columns, which helps in easy understanding or analysis of data. This file format to perform various operations like filtering and sorting in ascending or descending order and statistically operation as well. Sa Java part, makita mo ang Excel, Microsoft Excel, sa WPS, I don't know, dahil patakor Excel nga po sa WPS. Mga database, siya karagal sa dad eh. Okay, so, next is graphs. Kita ka mga guro ka graphs and charts. Okay, so, the graphs and charts format is in standard features in the most of the software. This format is very easy to analyze the data and not required to read each numeric data, which takes the time consuming only in a look and understand and analyze the data. Okay, so lastly, an image file or maps vector. If the application required to store and analyze with spatial data, the option to export the data into image file in the maps file or vector file is a great use. Okay, so what is the cycle of processing data? What is the cycle of processing data? Okay, so in here, data processing cycle has input followed by processing followed by output. Okay, so data processing is a restructured or reordering of data by people or machine to increase their usefulness and add values of particular purpose. Data processing consists of the following basic steps: input, processing, output. These three steps constitute the data processing cycle. Okay, so first is input. In these steps, the input data is prepared in some convenient form of processing. The form will be depend on the processing machine. For example, when electronic computers are used, the input data can be recorded on any one of the several types of input mediums such as magnetic disk, tapes, and so on. In other words, ang input is diyan mo gina-apply kung ano ang data ang isilid mo. Ga-imply dyan sa mga disk, magnetic disk, tapes, so on and so forth. So, for example, ang sa kasample ka input nyo is ang inyong password kag username sa Facebook nyo. For example, amora sa games nyo, so online games. Input, siyempre input nyo ra. After that, pagka-input na ka ra, dyan na masilid si processing. Okay, in this processing, I mean, in this step, the input data is changed to produce data in a more useful form. For example, paychecks can be calculated from the time records or a summary of sales for the month can be calculated for from the sales order. Okay. In this part, siyempre, the process na after mong input ang mga data ito, i-process sa computer or sino man yung process para after that magawa ang output, which is at this stage is the result of preceding process steps is collected. The particular form of output data depends on the use of the data. For example, output data may be paychecks for employees. For example, Facebook nyo, after nyo input ang data, syempre pag-click nyo ka sign in, may process ra kang website. After nga makakolekta ng data sa inyong website, diyan rin magawa ang inyong newsfeed, ang message nyo, profile nyo, etc. and so on. As for the games, siyempre, para after input, i-process na ka database kang kung company nga kapat ka games ka na. Tapos, after nyo login, nagwaan na ng inyong mga gamit, profile ka karakter nyo, ano ka mga level. Okay, so, amora. Okay, next is evolution of data processing, which is in this part, I will just attach a video explaining what is the evolution of data processing is. Okay, so
where this fits in the evolution of data processing, so where a GPU accelerated database fits in, is as follows. So the patterns of large-scale data warehousing, obviously well established, lots of methodology and practice developed on data warehousing. In the early 2000s, as data set sizes and the internet happened and petabyte scale requirements came in, then scale out storage and Hadoop happened, right? So an unbeatable price performance to allow you to leverage commodity hardware for scale out storage and then batch processing. So obviously, Hadoop found a great way to extend the capabilities of data warehousing to larger scale data sets. More recently then, as memory became cheaper and much more available, then the prospect of doing large-scale in-memory processing also became available. Products like SAP's HANA, more recently MemSQL, entered the market. And at this point then, one could observe that networks are ubiquitously fast. 10 gig is common, if not, InfiniBand. Storage is fast and available and deep, so flash storage and 4 terabyte drives, things like that, plenty of storage. Memory is now available. It's not unusual to have 512 gigs or a terabyte of RAM in a machine. So at the point where those limits are removed, traditional, existing, including in-memory databases reveal themselves to be compute-bound. This, in one sense, is like the fourth wall. Once the other constraints are removed, what is it that forces traditional systems, even in-memory systems, to have very, very wide horizontal scale and bloat? It's because they're adding machines to bring sufficient compute into the mix to meet SLAs on lots of data. So this is where the next step is Kinetica's product is designed from the beginning to exploit the massive compute, the massive compute capability provided by GPUs. So these are very compute dense devices. And so the Kinetica database was designed to use simple flat data structures to feed the GPUs as efficiently as possible. It's not a bolt-on, right, to try to add some GPU processing. It's a database designed from the ground up to parallelize as much as possible to really use all of that intense compute capability by the GPU.
And now that's the end of chapter 1. Okay, before we end this, I will just give you a small quiz in our LMS escuela and some activities for you guys to pass by next week. Okay, so thank you and keep safe.